All right, chapter 4 of Silence of the Heart, Robert Adams. Consciousness. Consciousness is not a thing. You cannot describe it. It is not the opposite of the world. And it is not an object. And there is no seer to see it. Consciousness is another word for being. Being what? Being nothing. Everything is consciousness. Consciousness is love. It is bliss. Everything is consciousness. Everything. When you ask, what is consciousness? There is no valid answer. When someone asks me to write a book or give a lecture, then I have to explain consciousness in 50 different words. And each word has another 50 words to explain that. And then those need 100 pages. What does it say? Everything is consciousness. I could have written one page. And in the middle of the page, I say everything is consciousness. And the rest would be blank. This is the reason that I do not write books, because there's nothing to say. See how confusing it is? You read so many books during the week. Usually you do not remember what you read. And if you do, it's all intellectual. You are using somebody else's words and not having your own experience. I do not know what consciousness is, but I am that. If I knew what consciousness was, it would not be that, because I would not be voicing a word. And the word would be limited by the very voicing of the word. So consciousness is no thing. It is nothing that you can describe. It is nothing you can write a book about. Consciousness is silence. Sometimes I am saying consciousness is absolute reality, which is more words. And I have to explain what absolute reality is. Consciousness is ultimate oneness, pure intelligence. Consciousness is all of those things. But what are those things? Again, they are just words. Sometimes I say consciousness is love, it is bliss, it is Sat Chit Ananda, it is knowledge, it is existence. These are all just words, and you get a good feeling for words, but the feeling doesn't last too long. So you have not digested the words and have not become a living embodiment of consciousness. I am referring to your real self. You are an asset to the human race, an asset to yourself, an asset to God. You are a wonderful person just the way you are. Just the way you are. You do not judge by appearances. You do not even judge yourself. You are a beautiful person just the way you are. When I say just the way you are, I am referring to the real self, to that consciousness. You are beautiful just the way you are, not what you think you are, not what you appear to be, not what the world shows you, but just the way you are right now. Stand up tall. Do not be afraid any longer. There is nothing that can hurt you. There is nothing in this world that can actually do anything to you. You are free. You are a substratum of all existence. Everything is an image of consciousness. The whole universe, all the planets, all the galaxies are all images of consciousness, and you are that consciousness. Know yourself and be free. There is only one way to bring peace to this world. There is only one way to bring peace to yourself. There is only one way to overcome problems. There is only one way to find yourself, and that way is to realize that everything is consciousness. What do I mean by that? Take everything in this room, the glass, the lamp, the chair, the couch, the rug, the light, your body. They are not real, for they are consciousness. I am not saying that consciousness has produced these things. I am not saying that first there is consciousness and these things come out of consciousness. On the contrary, I am saying that everything that appears to arise, that when you hear with your ears and you taste with your mouth and you feel with your hands, that is consciousness. You are not what you appear to be. Bliss is your real nature. There is a substratum of existence called consciousness. Another name for this consciousness is bliss. It is all pervading. As you begin to merge with it, it becomes you. It is your real nature. It is self-contained. The world, the universe did not come out of it. I will repeat that. There are teachings that tell you that the world is a modification of consciousness and that we have to return to consciousness. But there is nothing to return to. Consciousness is pure awareness. It is aware of itself as absolute reality. The world is like a reflection in a mirror. Where did the reflection come from? From nowhere, because it does not really exist. You cannot try to grab the image of the mirror, for you grab the mirror. When you awaken, you understand that you are the mirror, and the reflection of the world is like the water in the mirage, like the snake and the rope, like the sky is blue. Why does this happen? It does not. It appears to happen. Why does it appear to happen? It does not. The appearance appears to happen. Why does the appearance appear to happen? It doesn't. It appears to appear to happen. And we can go on like this all night. It is difficult for a human mind to grasp that you are not what you appear to be. It is not what it appears to be. It is not duality. Remember what I'm trying to convey. There is not consciousness in the world. There is only consciousness. And you are that. It's a paradox, a contradiction. You are that paradox. You are that contradiction. You are not what you appear to be. You are not what you see. Nothing in this world, in this universe, is as it appears to be. Consciousness, the screen of reality. Now, what is consciousness? We can say that consciousness is a power that knows itself. It is self-contained absolute reality. In other words, there is nothing but consciousness. There is not consciousness in you or consciousness in the world. There is only consciousness. Consciousness, you may say, is the screen of reality. And all the images of the whole universe are superimposed on this screen of reality. When you go to a movie, you begin to watch the picture show. The screen is covered with images. You forget all about the screen. You do not think of the screen any longer. You are looking at the images. You identify with images and you enjoy the movie. The screen is far away from you. Yet if you try to grab the images, what do you grab? You grab the screen, not the images. The images never existed, and you will grab the screen. So it is with us. We forget that we are superimpositions on the screen of life, and we're really the screen, which is consciousness. We believe through many incarnations that we are these images, that we are these people, we are others, and there are others. There are external things that make up the world. But I say to you, these things are false. The images are like water in a mirage, like the snake in a rope, like the sky is blue. Yet there is no sky, there is no blue. And when you find out that the snake was really the rope, it will never frighten you again. When you try to chase the water in the mirage, you become disappointed, you grab sand. In other words, they are optical illusions. This universe, my friend, is an optical illusion. It is a dream. Just when you are dreaming, no one can ever tell you that the dream is a dream so long as you are dreaming. You will always stick up for your rights and say, this is not a dream. Look, there are riots going on in Los Angeles. There's fires burning. People are being killed. How can you tell me this is all a dream? Yet you awaken from your dream and the dream never existed. It came out of you and returned to you. Now ponder this. The dream emanated from you. It externalized itself from you. The dream was not limited at all, was it? You did not dream that you were just in one place. You dreamt the whole universe. All kinds of things took place. You took an airplane ride to Africa. You went to Belgium. You visited the Congo. You were a little boy. You grew up a little girl, and then you grew up. All of this was in your dream. And again, you will fight for your dream. You will stick up for your rights in your dream. You will even kill in the dream. Yet when you awaken, the dream is gone. The dream never existed. I can assure you, my friends, that there will be a day in your life when you awaken to the truth. This world which we live in is the same thing. There is absolutely no difference. You are living the mortal dream. Consequently, sages have told us we have to identify with consciousness, the absolute reality, not what's going on the screen. The only freedom we have got is not to react to anything, but to turn within and know the truth. But how can this be? We look at each other, we see the things of the world, we feel pain, we feel sorrow, we feel happiness, we feel joy, and yet I am saying to you that these things do not exist. There is only consciousness. You can only know this when you experience it. So you are saying, this is good for you, Robert. Well, what about me? I feel the world. I get hurt easily. I'm sensitive. Things bother me. I see man's inhumanity in this world and I cry. I perceive all of these dastardly things going on in the world and it makes me sad. How can you say that these things do not exist? How can you say there is only consciousness? When all these things do not exist, how can you say there is only consciousness when all these things face me every day? That's just it. You have to be ready to turn away from the worldly things. You have to be prepared to jump within yourself, to dive deep within yourself, and to sort of ignore the world for a while. This does not mean that you have to give up anything. It means that while you are going through your daily chores, while you are doing your work in this world, you simply have to become aware every once in a while that everything is just consciousness. Just by being aware of these things that I'm talking about, you awaken, you become free. Just by being aware, by thinking to yourself when you get up in the morning, everything appears real to me, but it is all consciousness. Everything is consciousness. Consciousness is space, pure, choiceless awareness. Again, what is consciousness? Consciousness, we can say, is the substratum of all existence. On the scale of evolution, you take an object and you dissolve it into the most minute particles, and you will get molecules. This is true of any object on earth, whether it is a human being, a chair, a tree, a cat. Everything will return to molecules. You dissolve the molecules and you will get atoms. When I speak of atoms, you can't imagine how small they are. 7 million atoms can fit on one pinhead. It is incredible when you think of atoms. We know that they exist because we can look at them through an electronic microscope. Now you dissolve the atom and you get subatomic particles, which are even smaller than atoms. And we can't even discuss these things or talk about these things because they're just so amazing. The whole universe is made up of these things. You go further, you dissolve the subatomic particles and you just get energy waves. Scientists tell us the whole universe is composed of millions of energy waves. We cannot see them, yet great sages in meditation have gone to that stage. And here's the important part. You dissolve the energy waves and you get nothing, the void that the Buddhists talk about, no mind. It is the same as the void. We go beyond the void and we have consciousness. How can you prove this scientifically? If you hold a giant electronic microscope and you put your body under that microscope, you will see a tremendous amount of space. You would see atoms separated by vast amounts of space. And if you obtain an ultra electronic microscope, which has not been invented yet, you would see your body as pure space. There would be no atoms. For the ultimate electronic microscope would see through the atoms, and you would see space, total space. That space is consciousness. This is the only truth of your body. It is the only truth of a chair, of a building, a tree, a flower, an animal. It is the only truth of everything in the universe. Everything is empty space or consciousness. That is why I say often, we are nothing. All of us are nothing. So we are nothing. We are no thing conceivable. We are nothing that you can ever imagine. Your imagination only goes down to atoms. And you know about molecules. You go down to atoms, pure energy waves. But beyond that, beyond pure energy, there is nothing to understand. It's just absolute nothing. And that nothing is you. That nothing is pure consciousness. There was once a class being conducted like this, and a particular student said, "Master, I do not know what you are talking about. How can everything be consciousness? How can everything come from nothing? This does not make sense." And the master pointed to the fig tree, said to his student, "Go bring me a fig." And the student went and pulled a fig from the fig tree and brought it to the master. The master said, "Break open the fig." And he did. "What do you see?" "Seeds," said the student. "Okay, bring me one of those seeds." And he obeyed. The master gave him a razor blade and said, "Cut these seeds open." It was a pretty hard job because the seeds were so small, and he cut his finger a couple of times, but he finally managed to cut the seed open. And the master said, "What do you see now?" "Nothing. In the seed is only hollow. There's absolutely nothing in the seed." And the master said, "From this nothing, the entire universe is produced." This is true of everything on earth, in this world, and the universe. Everything is nothing. There is absolutely nothing that exists. Remember, I am saying that things do not come from consciousness. I am saying that everything is consciousness. Things do not exist. Human beings appear to be made so that they can see things, hear things, smell things, touch things, feel things. Therefore, they think that they are living in a material world, in a relative world. Yet the ultimate truth is everything is an optical illusion. Like the snake that like the rope, well, like the snake in the rope. When they use that phrase, the snake and the rope, it's an old Hindu analogy of walking on a dark night down a path. You see a snake in front of you. It scares the hell out of you. But then you notice that the snake is not moving. So you get closer and you find out it was just a piece of rope. And so anytime they say it's like the snake and the rope, they're talking about this metaphor. That on a dark evening, you see a piece of rope and you think it's a snake. And then when you realize that it was only a piece of rope, the question is, where did the snake go? Well, the snake was only your imagination. It was only ever a rope. It never was a snake. It is like the blue in the sky. So they talk about the blue. The sky looks blue to us, but it's really not blue. Like you can't ever go and capture the blueness of the sky. You can go outside and get a bag, a big old trash bag, and try to capture some sky. Take it inside and look at it. You're not going to find anything blue. There's no blue in the sky. It's just an optical illusion. And then, of course, water in the mirages. We've all been going down the highway and we've seen it look like a water puddle up ahead. And then you get there and it's only like the heat waves coming off the highway. and it looked like water. You as you appear do not exist. Just by thinking about this, you will be free. You really do not have to do anything else. For some of you, just to consider this, to ponder this, to try to realize that everything is really space, everything is consciousness, to think about this and rest, something begins to happen to your mind. You begin to lose your mind. Laughter, laughter. You see what consciousness is on the scale of evolution. Consciousness is the substratum of everything, of all existence. And your true nature is consciousness. This is what you really are. But you see what you have to get there. But you see what you have to do to get there. You have to go beyond all these levels. You have to become a molecule, an atom, a subatom, an energy wave. And then you turn to your real self, your absolute reality, your true consciousness, the screen of life. Now, why would you want to do this? Why would you not say, leave me alone and let me have my drink? Who wants to go back to atoms and subatoms and consciousness? Well, this is why the highest spiritual teaching is not for everyone. Most people are satisfied with life the way it is, but they are going to die and they are going to go through these experiences. As long as you live in this world or any other world, you go through the laws of cause and effect, which is like a pendulum. It swings to one side, which means things are looking up for you. You're doing well. Everything is great in this physical world. Then the pendulum swings to the other way, and things begin to reverse themselves. Your world starts falling apart. You may get sick, develop cancer. You may lose everything. Your family can be wiped out. You have nothing to hold on to. And what do? You curse life. You become suicidal. The pendulum swings to the right again and things get better. You become like a yo-yo, up and down, up and down. This is the way of the world. This is the way of the universe. We live in a world of duality. Therefore, this is the reason to become free. For if you go through life the way you are now, you have not worked on yourself. In order to transcend good and bad, up and down, right or wrong, forward and backward, you keep appearing again and again and again in various planets throughout the universe, taking on various bodies and going through various experiences that never ends. You may leave your body tomorrow and come back when the planet is again in the Dark Ages and they are having a Spanish Inquisition and you become a prisoner and you are having another Spanish Inquisition and you become a prisoner and you are tortured and your fingers are cut off one by one and you are reduced to nothing. And then you might come back in another life and you become the Vice President of the United States. This is the way of the world. This is life. It will never change. Many people have good intentions. They want to make this world a better place to live in. By a better world, they mean they want to make the world go their way. What they think is better, what they think is right. All of these things show you that you are identified with images. Think of the energy you put into this world, your projects that you do, the work that you are involved in, the things that you believe in, the energy that you expend, all the clubs you belong to, the societies you belong to. These are all the things that put you back on this earth. They put you back into a body, one after another, after another, after another, after another. Consciousness is not a thing. You cannot describe it. It is not the opposite of the world, and it is not an object, and there is no seer to see it. Consciousness is another word for being. Being what? Being nothing. Now we go beyond the realm of creation where it is becomes inevitable and indescribable. That is why we can only explain to you what consciousness is not. Consciousness is not the world. Consciousness is not self-contained. No, consciousness is not the world. Consciousness is self-contained absolute reality. It is yourself. When you do not identify with the world, and that only happens to the average person just as they are falling asleep and just as they wake up. At that time, you know you're a consciousness, but the feeling leaves you almost immediately. Catch yourself all day, begin a program. You begin to identify the world, you forget about reality. The method to remember is to catch yourself all day long. Who believes this? To whom does this come? Who feels this? Over and over again, you say, who am I? For some people, it is better to say, who is I? It's the same thing. What you are really doing is you are finding the source of this I. You are always talking about the personal I. Who am I? You are always talking about the personal I. Who is this I? Where did it come from? Who gave it birth? Never answer those questions. Just ponder those questions, but never answer them. Keep it up. Don't give up. It is fine for me to sit here and say the world does not exist. Nothing exists. But when you walk out this door, the world hits you right in the face. Some of you become depressed because you have to go home by yourself, perhaps. You wish you had relationships. Some of you feel depressed because you have a relationship and you wish you were alone. Nobody is happy. Everybody thinks something is wrong with their life. Some of you are depressed because you cannot get enlightened. Think about what you are doing. Think about what you are feeling. So we begin a program, and from our own personal experience, I have found that self-inquiry is best to awaken from. So begin a program. From my personal experience, I have found that self-inquiry is the fastest way to awaken for some people. Therefore, you passionately get yourself involved in self-inquiry. As I have said before, it is true that listening to these words and realizing that everything is consciousness can awaken you, but this is only if you can be prepared. By prepared, I mean that you have already transcended all things we are talking about. All of the emotions and all the fears and all the hurts and all the frustrations. If you have already transcended these things, then that is all you have to do. All you have to do is hear the word and awaken. But for most people, it does not work that way. Therefore, you have to practice some of the practices. Self-inquiry becomes very useful. You simply allow thoughts to come to you, and you inquire in a gentle way. To whom do these thoughts come? Who is thinking these thoughts? I am. You wait and you inquire sincerely. But who am I? What is the source of this I? When I say that you have to dive within yourself, this is how you dive within yourself. People often ask me, how do you dive within yourself? That is how you do it. You inquire, where does this I come from? The I is deep, deep within yourself. What is the source of this I? When thoughts will come to you again, you repeat the same thing over and over. To whom do these thoughts come? They come to me, but who is this me? What is the source of this me? What is the source of I? Where does the me come from? You do this over and over again. You do not look for a time. You forget about it for a time. Do not worry about it. Spend time by yourself. Many people cannot spend time by themselves alone. Many people tell me that they stay by themselves a lot. But if you're going to their house, you'll see them watching TV, playing video games. This is not what I mean by being alone. When I say spend time with yourself, I mean in perfect silence. Take time, sit down in a chair, watch your thoughts, and begin to inquire, to whom do these thoughts come? They come to me. I am thinking these thoughts, but who is the I thinking them? What is the source of this I? Where did it come from? It makes no difference how many times you have practiced this before. Whenever you do this is like the first time. This may be the time for you to awaken. This is why you should never give up. You simply sit still and do not try to think. For if you try to think, you will have thoughts that you cannot get rid of. You will be full of thoughts. If you try not to think, you do nothing, absolutely nothing. You are watching the thoughts as they come. As soon as the thoughts come in a gentle way, you inquire, to whom do these thoughts come? They come to me. I am thinking them. Who is the I that is thinking them? Where did it come from? How did it arise? From where did it arise? Who is the I? Who am I? You remain still. The thoughts come again. You do the same thing again and again and again in a gentle, peaceful way until you awaken. Yeah, so that was chapter 4 of Silence of the Heart, Robert Adams. So I went to India in 2011. I went to a Tibetan monastery. And let me get the picture real quick. I studied under my Lama, who's a recognized Tibetan Rinpoche, Lama Tuku Sori Dechen Rinpoche. This man came into my life probably in 2007 probably. And met him at the airport, became a teacher, a friend, a mentor. I ended up going to his monastery in India for about 3 weeks. We also went to where Buddha became enlightened in Sarnath, India. And the Dalai Lama was speaking there. So there was monks from all over the world. It was like seeing a rainbow of colors. All the robes were different colors from all the different traditions of Buddhism from around the world. Just walking around in a rainbow of colors of these robes of all these beautiful monks and nuns. And the Dalai Lama was talking about Shanti Deva, the way of the Bodhisattva, which has been near and dear to my heart even before I went to India. It was just very synchronistic that the Dalai Lama was speaking on Shanti Deva's, the way of the Bodhisattva, the Bodhicharvatara. But the thing is, going to India, studying in a monastery, having a guru, a root guru, a lama, which I had to have some karmic connection to him in some past life. That's what he said. He said that I had some karmic connection with him in a past life for us to meet in South Texas in 2007 or so. But what I was going to say is that when I went to India, they sit all day long. They do a puja where they're playing music and you're chanting and you're saying prayers like all day long. And one day I just couldn't take it, man. I mean, God, sitting there 8 hours a day doing these pujas and saying the prayers and all this stuff. I think it's called a sok in Tibet. But anyway, there's a lot of music and prayers and chanting and stuff. So a book had come to me and it showed up in my place I was staying, the room that I was staying in the monastery. And the book was about a Hindu saint or you could say it's Advaita Vedanta teacher Ramana Maharishi. And Ramana Maharishi is considered maybe like a Hindu saint. So it's weird that this book would appear to me in a Tibetan Buddhist monastery. But there it was. It came right to my room, and it was actually laid on my bed. And the day that I decided to skip going to the meditation, the normal scheduled meditation sessions, I took that book and I went out into the jungle in India, this place called Mainpat, and I went out into the jungle and I read Ramana Maharishi, and he was talking about non-duality, and he was saying exactly what Robert Adams is saying in his book. You are that. Whatever you're seeking for, that's what you already are. Whatever you're trying to worship, whatever you're trying to find, whatever you're saying is enlightenment or awakening or whatever, you're already that. You're already that. And so I read that entire book, and that's also like a karmic connection to Ramana Maharshi. For that book to find me in India in a Tibetan monastery and show up in the room that I'm staying at, it's just weird coincidences. But I really didn't fully grasp what Ramana was saying. But I fell in love with him. I fell in love with Ramana Maharshi, his beautiful eyes. That's a picture of him back there under Jesus. That's Ramana Maharshi. And so behind me, I have two Buddha Tankas paintings. I have Jesus praying, and I have Ramana Maharshi. And that's because they just encapsulate, those are not independent traditions. That's a manifestation of the divine mind. That's the manifestation of enlightenment. That is the manifestation of consciousness or the supreme source. You know, and so even though I went to India and I read Ramana's book, and it took me years. The thing is, intuitively, I knew, like I was writing about it, or I was almost channeling. I was channeling these books. These books were coming through me, and I could feel it. I was just when I got back from India, I just started writing books and writing books and writing books, and it just poured out of me. My pen just wouldn't quit moving, and to the point of when I go back and look at those books, I don't even know who wrote those. Like, doesn't even seem like my writing or my books. They just kind of poured through me, and I'm just coming to understand a lot of what I wrote in some of those books. I'm fully realizing what I was trying to talk about or what I was writing about. And like I say, nothing happened to me, right? Nothing happened. Like there wasn't an awakening experience. There wasn't a bolt of lightning. There wasn't anything like that. It was just in July 2022, I was listening to those videos of John Wheeler, and slowly it was like the onion peeled back, like the last layer was peeled off. It's like a baseball. I remember when I was a kid. No, a golf ball. I remember when I was a kid, I cut a golf ball in half, and it was amazing. I found some kind of rubber bands. I think that was a golf ball. It was full of rubber bands inside of it. So that was like the hard shell was cut off when I was listening to this John Wheeler stuff on the inside. It was all these rubber bands that gave me this buoyancy. I realized that there was nothing, there was not a real Kylie, that there wasn't a real search for anything. There wasn't a real Tibetan Lama, there wasn't a real India, there wasn't a real Jesus, there was not even a real Ramana Maharshi. It's just images playing out on the stage of consciousness, and I'm playing my little part. I'm playing my little part. The winds of karma blowing me through this lifetime. And as long as I don't identify or make real this world and this ego, as long as I constantly turn towards that supreme source as my true identity, things bode well for me. There is less anxiety, less fear, less worry, less stress. When I realize that I am the divine source, and everything is the divine source. Everything is happening, and nothing ever happened. People are being born and people are dying every day, and yet it's not truly happening. And everything is perfect just the way it is. And the only reason why there is pain and suffering in this world is because people identify with their egoic self. When you truly believe that you are this egoic self, and you feel hurt and you feel traumatized and you feel neglected, and you start hating the world because you've been mistreated, that's when you want to go out and you want to hurt people or do things, go to war or rob or steal or kill or whatever. But then when you realize that you are the supreme source, you always have been, you always will be the supreme source, then, like Robert says, compassion arises, love arises, empathy arises, perfection arises. And you know that nobody has ever hurt you, nobody's ever wronged you. There's nobody to get back at, there's nobody to hurt. That we are all this consciousness, just playing this game. Thank you.